Hi, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365, with your daily update for Thursday, March 11th. Thank you for joining me. Very big, important news today that many of you have been asking for. I've heard we've had several comments. I've gotten several emails and messages saying, you know what? We need people who are younger than 65, but who have pre-existing health conditions to be eligible for vaccine. And I've been telling you, I've been asking them, and I've been agreeing with you, and now it has happened. So this is people, anybody 16 and older who has a one of about, they say 20, but it's really more like 17 health conditions. And I will read through the list real quick. Will be eligible for vaccine beginning March 29th. The other piece of news that we got today is that DHS expects everybody, all adults, to be eligible for vaccine by the end of May. Now, that doesn't mean we're all going to get vaccinated by the end of May. It means we'll be eligible, because what's happening right now is on March 1st, about 700,000 more people became eligible. We didn't have 700,000 vaccines on hand right then, right? On March 29th, about 2 million more people will become eligible. And that will be really more than half of the adult population of Wisconsin will be eligible on March 29th. And there'll be just a few people left. But still, we're not going to have 2 million doses like just sitting on the shelf on March 29th either, I don't think. Maybe we will. Fingers crossed. But I kind of doubt it. So it just takes a while. It's still going to take a while, but we're all going to be eligible, and we can all start booking our appointments and stuff like that and not worrying about eligibility. Right? We can just start calling our doctors. So I'm going to talk through real quick about who's eligible now, and then a little bit about what little we know about about actually how to go about getting one. Congratulations, Matt. Literally in Walgreens right now, getting yours. Watching the update on your phone in Walgreens while getting vaccinated. That's really meta. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is a good comment from Bobby. I'll talk a little bit more about this, but it's kind of everybody in Wisconsin, right? This is Wisconsin, right? After all. So here's the list: asthma, cancer, cerebrovascular disease, which is a disease that affects the blood vessels and blood supply to the brain, chronic kidney disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, cystic fibrosis, Down syndrome, heart conditions, just generally heart conditions, hypertension, high blood pressure, immunocompromised state, a weakened immune system from organ transplant, blood or bone marrow transplant, immune deficiency, HIV, any other. If you take a immune weakening medicine, you're eligible on March 29th. Liver disease, neurologic conditions such as dementia, and this is the fun one: overweight or obesity. They actually, on the list, they had overweight, obese, and severely obese, all listed as 3 different categories. That's a bit much. Let's just say BMI over 25. You're eligible. Which, again, this is Wisconsin. And the funny thing is, a lot of thinking now is that BMI over 25 isn't even really obese, really. But whatever. Take it if you can get it, right? Pregnancy. This is new. There was a lot of talk that pregnant women wouldn't be eligible because it wasn't fully tested on pregnant women, but pregnancy is one of the conditions now. Pulmonary fibrosis, which means damaged or scar tissue in your lungs. Sickle cell disease, which is disproportionately Black people. Okay. Type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And thalassemia, which is a blood disorder that I had never heard of till now. So any of those gets you eligible for vaccine on March 29th. It's you're not going to get your vaccine on March 29th. Okay. But at this moment, you can start to like make an appointment. And what it seems to me, what I would do if I were you and you wanted to jump in on this, is if you have a primary care doctor, call that person or call that clinic. Because, you know, they're going to do these big community mass vaccine sites and stuff like that, which is great. But primary care clinics are also doing them. And your primary care doctor will know whether or not you are diabetic or had cancer or whatever might lead you to become eligible on March 29th. Then you don't have to prove it to anybody. So I would start there. This is my advice. This is not official advice. You can still call the DHS helpline about vaccines. You can get more information on the DHS website. But if I were you, I'd start with my primary care doctor if you have one, like if you're a member of an HMO or whatever. If not, try your county health department and find out when they'll be doing open clinics. And it's not clear yet that I've seen how or whether you need to prove your condition, like, or if they're going to take your word for it. I think some people are just going to have to try it. Like anybody can make an appointment at Walgreens right now, and it seems like they just kind of take your word for it whether you're eligible or not. So on our system, wait till March 29th and then try to make your appointment at Walgreens online and see how you do. It doesn't. I don't know if you're going to need a doctor's note or anything like that. It's not real clear on that part, which is again why I would start with your primary care provider, because even if you're not able to get a vaccine there, you can ask them about what are my requirements in terms of do I need a note from you, that kind of thing. So all the way around, it's pretty good news. That a lot more people will be eligible. I think because every person who gets vaccinated is actually good. There's more good than for just that person, right? The more of us that get vaccinated, the more public immunity there is. So I want to get to the point where we're not talking about prioritization. We're not talking about eligibility anymore, that anybody can just first come, first serve kind of thing. I also, the other problem with the age-based 65 and up is that it's colorblind. And we all know colorblind racism exists. And that nobody's intending for white people to get vaccinated faster than black people and Latino people. But that's the impact when you do it only by age. And when you start doing by underlying health conditions, a lot of black and brown people are more likely to be diabetic, more likely to have high blood pressure, more likely to have obesity issues, more likely to have sickle cell disease. So this will, doing it this way, could start to chip away some of those disparities if there's also an intentional effort at access. Right? Because you're eligible doesn't mean you can take off work and go get your shot at the clinic wherever, an hour away, right? There are access issues as well. Lorraine asks whether I have been vaccinated. I have not. I have said several times I haven't even pursued it yet because I'm like privileged white guy and happy to be last. Happy to be, except to the extent that everybody who gets vaccinated is beneficial to the entire community. So given the opportunity, I take it, but I'm not going to clamor to get ahead of anybody else. Does that make sense? All right. And also because I have the privilege to stay home. I work from home all the time now, but it's fine. Not everybody has that privilege, so I'm going to leave the shots for people who don't have that privilege. That's all. To the extent that I can. So let's talk a little bit about the statewide numbers, and then we'll jump into some other news of the day. We got more big news from the federal government that I'll talk about in a little bit. Speaking of vaccinations, while we're on the topic, wow, a big number of vaccinations got done today. 56,000 shots were given, roughly. Not quite that many. 20,600 people finished their vaccine, which means either they got the second dose of Pfizer/Moderna, or they got the one and only Johnson & Johnson shot. 36,000 got their first shot, got at least one shot. Some of those 36,000 are also counted in the 20,000, right? The Johnson & Johnson ones. So that puts us past 11% of the population completely vaccinated. Now, keeping in mind, after your second shot or your final shot, it's 2 weeks before you're really fully immune, right? The whole point of the shot is to prompt your body to build an immune response, which takes some time for your body to do. So you can't you can't get a shot and then start breathing in other people's air, you know? You know what I mean? You got to give your body time to do its work. So it's not 11% of people fully immune now, but 11% of people have gotten their second shot, which is great. And the fact that we're having higher numbers per day finish the shots is really good news. Because that's how we're going to get done faster. That's how this is not going to take 2 years. This will take like 6 months if we keep going faster and faster and getting more and more done every day. Okay. Today's numbers, statistics and stuff are pretty decent as they were yesterday. Very similar to yesterday, with one exception. I'll tell you about in a second. 502 new cases today, which is still a lot, but 4,200 tests. About 12% of the new tests reported today are positive. A little higher than yesterday, not terrible. The 7-day positive test rate is 2.0. Good job, everybody. I'm proud of you. 2.0 is terrific. We need that to stay below 3. And that is, yesterday it was 2.1. For a few days there, almost a week, it was stuck right around 2.2. So the fact that continues to drop is great. Like that number being below 3 and staying below 3 and continuing to go down below 3, along with the accelerating vaccinations, makes me really confident. I went to the grocery store today. I had my mask on. I'm not throwing the masks away. I'm not going into my office. I don't even have an office anymore. I'm not going into town. I'm not hanging out with people. I'm not going to gatherings yet. And nobody should be, I don't think. But I'm feeling confident that in a couple months we will be able to, just based on these data. So when it's not done, it's not over. It wasn't a hoax. We still have work to do. We got to maintain this now. And we have to choose to do it, and it's going to be hard. Even me, I've been very much a proponent of masking and closing businesses and keeping schools closed and stuff. But even I'm like, can we just not anymore? I've had those thoughts, and it's beautiful outside, and I live in the same village as my parents and my in-laws, and it's like we still haven't seen them, really. I mean, we have like outdoors, but not really. I haven't had like proper visits with grandkids, stuff. And even I'm just sick of it. And I'm just like, what's going to happen? What's the worst that could happen? Let's just, and then I have to remind myself, no, if we let our guard down, that's what we did last year in June. And that's when things started to go wrong. So we got to stay strong, everybody. We're all doing great. We're doing the right things. We got to keep it going until we get that vaccine number, at least over like 50. Then we can maybe start thinking about loosening up. And once we get that to like 75, 80% of people vaccinated, I think we'll be good. All right. So that's the coronavirus numbers. Oh, one other thing I do want to say. There were 8 deaths reported today, but weirdly, 8 also subtracted. 8 previously reported deaths that were corrected, I guess. So the net increase was 0 deaths, which means our average 7-day death average of reported deaths is down to 8, because that's the lowest I've ever seen it. since we've been calculating it. So that's also pretty decent news. That is all the coronavirus news today. I'm going to take a short pause, and don't scroll away because I have some other news for you right on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, one other thing I do want to acknowledge that I was talking about earlier today, that it was a year ago today that the wheels really fell off, right? It was a Wednesday, and I was at the Chamber of Commerce office here in Madison, along with Henry Sanders, our CEO, and Nate, our video guy. We were filming an interview for the Real Talk show that we have with the president of the chamber, Zach Brandon. And that interview never aired because while that interview was going on, I had to run to the lobby of the chamber office and report that UW was closing its campus. That UW was asking people not to come back for spring break, that they were going to go virtual for all classes. And that night is when the NBA canceled the season, and then, well, baseball canceled its season, and everything just spring training was shut down very shortly thereafter. So today was kind of the day it all started. In Wisconsin, it was the Friday that it really came crashing down in Wisconsin, but this is the day that it kind of started. And I some people don't want to talk about it. Some people are like, why would we try to remember that? But I'd be interested in your thoughts. Should we do a session, just like a Facebook Live session, where people can kind of remember that week, and how crazy that was? I have a bunch of photos. We sent a photographer into Madison that weekend after the schools closed, and just the emptiness of the city was just remarkable. I might repost those photos. But if you guys would be interested in talking about that, or like hearing from some people about remembering that week and everything that went down a year ago, I'd be, maybe we can do that. Anyway, other news today. The UW Foundation, which does, the fundraising arm of the University of Wisconsin, has a new director of development specifically for the College of Engineering. His name is Daniel Sims. He's from Little Rock, Arkansas. He's been in Madison for 3 years now, just getting started at UW Foundation. He just started this week there. He's looking to specifically broaden the donor base. And, there are Black and brown communities that do a lot of donating to their church and their kids' schools and stuff like that. And he's trying to kind of tap into those communities to support the University of Wisconsin, which is a really, it's an important thing that he does. So Dave Zommer has a nice profile of Mr. Sims on the site this morning. Also in the news today, I talked to you about this the other day a little bit, that this natural hair braiding bill is in the legislature, co-sponsored by Sheila Stubbs, or mainly authored by Sheila Stubbs. And basically, hair braiding is obviously an African American practice. It's an important, not only cultural practice, but it's an important business opportunity. But it's regulated. In order to do it, you have to have basically a cosmetology license, which is a real barrier. Like, you have to go to cosmetology school just to do this one thing. So Sheila Stubbs is looking to have that deregulated and removed from that licensure requirement, so people could do it like for real and not just like in their basement or their kitchen, and do it legally. would be entrepreneurs. And that bill was introduced a couple times in the past couple of years. And on Tuesday, it finally got a vote in a committee, and it passed by a 6-2 vote in the committee. So now, in the next couple of weeks, it'll probably get a hearing, get a vote on the assembly floor. There's also a parallel version in the Senate right now, co-sponsored by Mary Fosowski and Latanya Johnson. So I would anticipate that making its way to Governor Aber's desk for signing in the next month or two. And finally, big news from the White House today. The president was supposed to sign the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Act tomorrow, but he signed it today instead. I don't know. I'm not sure how this paperwork works, but apparently the White House said they were going to sign it Friday because they didn't think they would get it until Thursday night. Because this doesn't happen on email or Dropbox or anything. This happens with real life paper still. But they got the bill late Wednesday. So he said, why not? We'll sign it today. So that's big news. And it is bigger than you think, probably. This is a question on the previous topic, and it's a terrific question. And let me talk about this bill, and then I'll get back to that. Yes, 100%. You're absolutely right. The $1.9 trillion stimulus package, the American Rescue Act, you know about the $1,400 that we're all going to get. And you probably know that they tried to put the minimum wage increase in it, and that came out. But there are a ton of things in this bill that will help everybody. $3,000 child tax credits, refundable and paid in advance, partially in advance. So most people with kids will start to get basically monthly payments in July. Unemployment insurance is extended. Obamacare premiums are capped at 8% of income. Tons of money for child care centers, for schools, for states. And we are actually going to have an economist on the show tomorrow. I'm actually going to tape an interview with him tomorrow morning. I'm going to ask specifically, okay, what all is in this bill? How can people access it? Do you need to do something to get those child care tax credit payments? I honestly don't know. So if there's anything specific you want to know about the American Rescue Act, put them in the comments right now, and I will make sure to ask that economist, and he'll be on the show tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow to learn all about this massive piece of legislation that is going to impact your life on a day-to-day basis for the rest of this year. Now, the bill number is for this the hair braiding bill. It is Assembly Bill 122, and I'm not sure what the Senate bill is, but you know what I'll do? I will look up the Senate bill number, and I will comment. I will respond to your comment a little bit later this evening. So you can this is the comment, and you can reach out to your representatives and urge them to support that bill if you choose to do so. I'll do that in the next half hour. I'll look up the numbers and post them there for you. Appreciate your attention. That's all I have for you today. Have a wonderful evening. It is beautiful. Once again, it's pretty sunny, nice, cool, crisp spring afternoon. So get out and about if you can. And we will see you tomorrow.
This is 365 Media.
don't like any of this pictures. Let's do it.
Okay, I see a lot of shaking. I see a lot of nodding heads. I'm going to go ahead and. Secondly, as we can see today, where we have Heidi and Stephanie here, they are going to be consultants for the DEI subcommittee this year. Gigi, I mentioned this because I think this is something that you can use as well. They can. The idea is even like so. The union president technically has to open up the board for them to be voting members, but we can bring in consultants to the board at our, if we feel that there's a good voice. So Heidi and Stephanie will be joining because I let them introduce themselves, and then Heidi will be presenting for the next 10 minutes or so. about the. I mean, like most, not so much presenting. I think you can like kind of just give a quick overview and ask any questions, or it's kind of open. This meeting is fairly kind of open that way. And they will be joining us. So I'll let Stephanie introduce her, and then point it to Heidi, so that Heidi can then transition to her directorate update.
So hi, I'll pop in, Bobby. Thank you, though. I'm Stephanie Diaz de Leon. I work as a diversity coordinator for leadership and engagement, and so I'm just happy to be here to help wherever I can. So I'll popcorn over to Heidi.
Thanks, Stephanie, and thanks for inviting me. I'm Heidi Lang, Associate Director for Social Education, and work a lot with Prati in his officer role and the other students as well. So again, happy to be here, and I'm hoping you have lots of questions because I don't think I have 2-minute presentation, but I can share with you what I know, and Prati stop me if I get too far off the rails. But Prati asked me to come and just talk a little bit about our 5th floor expansion project that I'm so excited is being discussed and will soon be underway. So, not quite sure how much information you have, and if Paul, who actually, if you want to grill somebody, Paul is the person to grill. He's the keeper of a lot of the information related to this project. But the project that I'm referring to will occur on the 5th floor of Memorial Union. And on that floor, since we haven't had a lot of time up there this year, there is an office suite that hosts 5 of the directorate committees, and the 3 of the officers have office space in that area as well as 5 staff. And if you have been up on that floor, you'll notice that we overlook to the east at the 4th floor of the rooftop. And so there's a space that's I think a little under about 1,000 square feet. Again, this is the details you might want to talk to Paul, but that we are fortunate to be expanding into, which will ultimately bring about 3 additional staff office spaces, a student office space, and then an open area for the committees to work in. And that project was previously part of the renovation of Memorial Union, but needed to be delayed for a number of reasons, and was put back on the list, the priority list for construction projects, and recently approved. So that's why we have been meeting for almost the full academic year with the folks who are planning that project, and thinking about what the space might look like, what the possibilities are. But what Prati wanted me, I think, specifically to talk to is the timeline of that work, which, as I understand it, these projects are always, they're fluid, and what it is today might change once more details are available. But right now, my understanding is towards mid-October of this coming year through potentially next April, the construction